Hey guys, what's going on? Dr. Gonzo, oh boogie here again, back for another video. And in this video, I was going to show you guys my entire Arrow video collection. And this is a video that I've been wanting to get around to for a while, so I'm really happy to finally get around to filming this. And I thought that this would be an awesome way to celebrate the last full week of October by showing you guys my absolute favorite part of my entire horror collection as of now. Actually, Arrow video releases are my favorite thing to collect for horror movies right now, and they're just so awesome. I'm sure you guys love the Arrow video releases too. They do such a great job with all their releases. Basically, every release they put out is a special edition, but not only that, they also put out box sets and steel books. So just for a collector's sake, it's like the best thing going on right now for horror movies. And there is a lot of other companies right now putting out special editions of horror movies, Scream Factory, Vinegar Syndrome, and they all do a great job too. But in my opinion, Arrow Video really does it right, and they do a great job. I'm obsessed with Arrow Video. I would collect every release they've ever put out, but I don't have the money to do that. But I have picked up a ton of Arrow video releases since I've started collecting about a year ago. I started collecting Arrow video releases probably around the same time they started putting out releases here in the US, so I actually don't have any of the older Arrow video releases that were just released in the UK. The ones I'm talking about are the ones that have like the white slipcover things, and they have like the window box, and you can switch the artworks out, and those are awesome. I would love to add a few of those to my collection, but I don't have any in my collection right now. I'm sure one day I'll start picking up a few of those. A lot of them are hard to find, especially most of the ones that I want to pick up are hard to find. But those are really cool, but I actually don't have any of those in my collection. I figured I would mention that before I started on this video in case anybody is expecting to see some of those older Arrow video releases in this video. But I do have some of the UK Arrow video releases. Actually, probably around the same time Arrow Video started releasing titles here in the US, they like switched the artwork on their UK releases. I think to look similar to the US ones, or it was just in general, it's just a artwork switch that they did for the entire company. But basically, the newer UK editions look just like the US editions. So actually, I wanted to start this video off with the UK releases that I have. So let's get going on this video. And also, I wanted to mention too that this is going to be a two-parter video. In the first part here, I'm just going to show you guys my regular Arrow video releases, and in part 2, I'll be showing you guys some of the special edition box sets I have. I only have a couple of them, and also all the steel books that I have. So let me get started on part 1 here, and I'm going to start off with the UK Arrow video releases that I have in my collection. So first off here, this is the release that got me into collecting the UK releases, and this is of Videodrome. And Videodrome is one of my all-time favorite movies. It stars Debbie Harry from the band Blondie, and Blondie is one of my favorite bands, and David Cronenberg is one of my favorite directors, and I think this is his best film, even though David Cronenberg has a ton of awesome films. This is probably my favorite from him. Really cool artwork design on this. This is a Region B release, so it will not play on a US Blu-ray player, but just a really cool release here for one of my favorite movies ever. Again, the artwork is really cool on this, and probably one of my favorite artwork designs for a Videodrome release I've seen so far. And I am aware that there is an awesome UK release box set for Videodrome. I would love to have that in my collection, but as of now, it's just a little bit too hard to find and a little bit too pricey for me. But one of these days, that will be in my collection. It's at the top of my want list for my movie collection. So there we go with Videodrome. Let's move on to a film from another one of my favorite directors. This is from Dario Argento. And of course, this is Inferno. This is his follow-up to Suspiria. It's in some way a sequel to Suspiria, sort of. It's in the same trilogy, the Three Mothers trilogy of films that Argento has put out. The most recent one came out very recently. I think the third in the Three Mothers series came out in like the early 2000s or something like that. Never saw it, but I heard it was okay. But this is one of Argento's best. I would say he put this out towards the end of the 70s. Right. Well, actually, this came out in the early 80s, but this was at like the best era for Argento, late 70s to the mid 80s. And this is just a really great horror movie. I would say it's not as iconic, or it doesn't have as many well-known scenes as Suspiria, but it's almost just as good. It's a really great film and definitely worth checking out if you guys are a fan of the giallo, Italian giallo genre. And this is another Region B release, so again, this will not play on a standard US Blu-ray player. Next up here is The Exterminator. Have not checked this one out yet, but it looks like a lot of fun. From what I read on the computer, this is just like a really violent 80s action movie. Looks pretty cool. Looks like it's probably like a little bit of an exploitation film. This actually is a region-free release. It'll play on most Blu-ray players. So if some of you guys out there have just a player that plays the Region A movies and you guys want to pick up some of these UK releases, this one will play on a regular US player. Next up here, this is another region-free release, and this is a film by the master Mario Bava. This is A Bay of Blood. Pretty sure this movie came out in the early 70s, if I remember, and this is a definite proto-slasher movie. It's got the standard archetype for a slasher movie, but this came out in the early 70s. I remember it's not as good as some of Mario Bava's films from the 60s, based on what I remember, but still, I had a lot of fun watching this, and this is good stuff here. Definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Bava's films. He's great. And then last for my UK releases is City of the Living Dead. This is from director Lucio Fulci. This is a very strange zombie movie. From what I remember the story was a little bit hard to follow here, but the visuals in this movie were really good. I remember something to do with a priest that gets killed. He either gets hung or something like that, and it opens up like a gateway to hell. And then you get some classic Lucio Fulci zombies in here. Out of all the Lucio Fulci movies I've seen, this is probably my second favorite, I would say, after Zombie. Good stuff here. Well, actually, probably my third favorite. I would say my favorite from him is Zombie, and then The Beyond, and then probably this one. This is good stuff here, definitely. And again, this is a region-free release, and this release here is pretty cheap. I think I picked mine up like I was brand new. I think I only spent like $10 on this, so definitely worth picking up for the price. Alright, so let's move on to the US Arrow video releases. I have 8 releases to show you guys here. And like I mentioned in part 2 of this, which I will be getting up later this week, I'll be showing you guys the rest of my Arrow collection, which is box sets and steelbooks. So definitely make sure you check that out later this week if you guys are enjoying this video. So let's take a look at the US Arrow video releases I have. And first off here is another film by the master Mario Bava, and this is Blood and Black Lace. And this movie is awesome. Out of all the Mario Bava films I've ever seen, I would have to say this is probably my favorite one. And I feel like this really showcases well what Mario Bava is known for as a director, kind of what he what makes him stand out from other directors. This movie really showcases that well with the unique lighting and atmosphere and music used in this movie. This is just all around an awesome, cool movie. One of my favorite Arrow video releases in my collection, and one of my favorite Mario Bava films. I actually also have the steelbook release of this, but I'll show you guys that in part 2 of this video. So moving on here, we have Dr. Jekyll and Miss Osborne. which I remember this was like some sort of like a foreign or European adaptation of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story, and I remember this was a little bit weird. This was sort of like an art film, and I can't remember too much about it. I remember it being pretty good, but I've definitely seen better adaptations of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story, but I'd say out of all the adaptations I've seen of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, this was probably the weirdest one. So if you guys are into like weird European art films, horror films and stuff, this one's probably up your alley. But I don't know. This movie didn't do too much for me. It was pretty good though. It was all right. All right, so moving on. Next up here, this is one that I haven't seen yet. This is Your Vice is a Locked Room, and only I have the key. Very strange name for a horror movie. This is an Italian giallo. And again, like I said, I have not seen this one yet, but based on the fact that this was released with the Black Cat from Lucio Fulci in a box set thing, I'm guessing that this movie is somewhat based on the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Black Cat, but I have not seen it yet, so I'm not 100% about that. But then again, on the back, it says right here, loosely based on the Edgar Allan Poe classic tale, The Black Cat, so I guess that's what this was. So this came in a 2-pack box set thing. I didn't pick up the box set, but I picked up both releases separate. So I also have the Black Cat release right here, which this is from director Lucio Fulci, and I would say out of all the Fulci movies that I've seen, this is probably my least favorite. I just found this movie to be a little bit boring, and it didn't have a lot going for it. But if you guys are a fan of Edgar Allan Poe adaptations or just a fan of Lucio Fulci's films, I would still recommend checking this one out, even though it didn't really do too much for me. Alright, now the last 4 releases for this video. Let's go through them. First off here is The Zero Boys. This was a really fun movie. I think this came out in the mid-80s. It has the actress from Night of the Comet. There's her picture up in the corner. I cannot remember her name, but she does a great job in that movie, and she does a great job in this movie too. And this was really cool because this was basically like a slasher movie, but it was sort of mixed in with kind of like a weird action type feel to it. It was kind of about these like group of like renegade kids. They go in the woods with paint guns and paintball guns, and they like they do crazy stuff like that. And they stumble upon this house in the middle of the woods. It's like a really nice house, and all the lights are on and stuff, but nobody's home. So they go in, they start snooping around and start having a party there basically. Before they know it, they start getting killed off by like a couple hillbilly dudes, if I remember. But this was a really fun movie. My description of it, my quick review, did not do it justice. This was a lot of fun and definitely worth checking out for anybody who likes really fun 80s horror movies. Okay, next up here, this is like sort of not a horror movie. This is more just an exploitation movie. This is really the only non-horror movie I have in my Arrow collection right now. This is Black Mama, White Mama, and I switched the artwork around on this one because I thought that the the artwork on the flip side was a lot more interesting than the other artwork. I mean, that just makes the movie look a lot of fun here. I have not seen this one yet, but I do want to check it out because it's got Pam Grier in it, and I do like to check out exploitation films. So one of these days I will get around to checking this one out. Pretty cool release here. Black Mama, White Mama. Right. So next up here is The Stuff, and this was an awesome film, directed and written by Larry Cohen, and I just thought this was a really fun movie altogether. Just it has something to do with like a meteor or something like that crashes to Earth, and there's this weird like substance oozing out from it, and somebody tastes it and realizes that it's extremely addictive and it's extremely tasteful, and they start it's really tasty is what I mean, and they start to sell it as like a product, almost kind of like a yogurt ice cream type product called The Stuff. But the more you eat it, the more it starts to turn you into like an alien monster type thing from what I remember. It's been a while since I've seen this one, but I remember this being an awesome movie. Highly recommend checking this one out. Really cool artwork on this too. Arrow Video just always has really cool artwork on their releases. And then the last release I have for this video is The Bride of Reanimator. And I know there's a box set or like a yeah, like a box set special edition release of this. But I actually picked up this kind of like regular edition of it at Best Buy. And around the time I picked this up like a month or so ago at Best Buy. I was checking on eBay and Amazon to see how much it was going for, and I couldn't find it listed. And I did find it listed as like a pre-order for later in October. I thought that was kind of weird that they would release like a regular edition of one of their special editions later on. So this is kind of a weird release. I'm not exactly sure how easy this release is to find. I picked mine up at Best Buy, but it seems like the box set edition is a little bit easier to come by than this release. But Bride of Reanimator is great. A really fun sequel to an already awesome horror movie. Reanimator is probably one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s. And this is a really good sequel to it. So I'd highly recommend checking this one out too. So, alright guys, that was it for this video, but like I mentioned a few times throughout this video, I will be posting up a part 2 of this video later this week where I show you guys my box sets and my steelbooks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, if you did, definitely give this video a big thumbs up or leave a comment or subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next time.